Good morning and welcome to Masterclass Junior. As you can see, I'm on my own. The kids are busy today, so I thought I would prepare dinner, just me and you guys. I've got a beautiful curry. Now it's going to be a curry that's got loads of flavour, but no heat. It's not hot and spicy and fiery, although you can add chilli if you want to, but I think it's super healthy, nutritious, loads of ingredients in there. But I'm also going to show you how to make a really lovely onion bhajji. Little ones, we're going to utilise the spice mix that I'm going to show you how to make, and we're going to make little bhajis, but instead of deep fat frying them, we're going to bake them in muffin tins. Makes it super easy, really delicious, nice and crispy. It's a fantastic dinner. So let's get started. Now the first thing we need to do is get our vegetables cooking. And then we're going to get our bhajis done and things like that. And we're going to make our spice mix. So first things first, get myself a decent knife. Right, pan on, get ready to cook. So heat on, leave the lid on. We're going to start. So we've got onions as our base. So let's just dice these up. So cut in half, slice, and then cut the onion a third of the way, 2/3 of the way in, so it holds together, and then we will just chop that nice and small, okay? Now, the smaller you chop everything, the quicker this dish will cook, okay? So, all good curries start with onions, okay? There's always loads and loads of onions as a good base. They kind of melt away, and they add a backbone of flavour to your curries. So there we go, that's one onion, and then I've got half here as well. Okay. So hopefully you all enjoyed our little Irish empanadas the other day. We absolutely devoured them in the house. They were really, really good. And we also had a nice little pint of Guinness, which was really nice. It was we don't often drink it, but it made a nice change. So, sweet potato, okay? Peeled already. I'm just going to nick those little ends off, and then I'm going to cut these into slightly bigger pieces than I'm going to with the butternut squash, because it's a less dense flesh, this, and it will cook quicker. So if you want everything to cook at the same time, you need to make sure that this butternut squash is the vegetable that's cut the smallest, okay? Right, so sweet potatoes. Cut it down the middle. And the middle again, so I'm going to cut them into quarters and then into chunks, okay? You need to be careful with sweet potato because you don't want it to sort of melt away to nothing. And sometimes if they're cut too small, they do.
Can you use normal potatoes, Pete?
You can. They don't work, they're not as nice in my opinion, but yeah, totally you can. I mean, there are lots of curries out there that have potatoes in. I mean, sagaloo is, you know, Bombay potatoes, things like that. They're all there. So let's get our pan. Look, it's nice and hot. Let's get some oil in there and get everything going. Okay. So before we get onto the butternut squash, let's get the onions in. Oh, love that sound. In it goes, and then our sweet potatoes. Now, I'm going to season this up. It's really important that you season things as you go. The salt will draw the moisture out and help it cook evenly. Now, I'm just going to pop these onto my pan, and I won't burn my hands. Perfect. Right, so pop the lid on, but leave it ajar slightly. Oh, those onions are strong. Poppy would be moaning about that. Okay, let's have a quick wipe down. Now, time for a bit of a cookery lesson. Butternut squash. Okay, you could use pumpkin if you wanted to. If you haven't got butternut squash, double up on your sweet potato, okay? Because you just want that nice sort of substance to it. So, to prepare a butternut squash, cut the top and the bottom off. And then it's safer, okay? It means we can now work on peeling it. Let me grab a smaller knife. Cut the round bit at the bottom, cut that off, so about a third of the way up, because that bit is a completely different shape to that bit. So peeling it all in one go, it's not an option. Okay, so we've now got the top bit, the sort of the tube of it. Just cut down and turn each cut and then turn it. Can you see that all right, Emily? Yeah. Good. Does that make sense? Good. I like it when I make sense to you. Okay, so you can see there, peeled, apart from that little bit there I missed. Okay, all peeled and ready. So now the second bit. I'm just going to run my knife around the squash, just like if you were peeling an apple, okay? Just take your time. And what's probably more important is you're comfortable. If you're comfortable, you're confident. If you're confident, you're capable. If you're uncomfortable and nervous, that's when you run the risk of cutting yourself. Emily's looking at me now a bit strange.
If you aren't confident with a knife, can you use a peeler? You
can use a peeler. Let me just pop this in the bin and I'll show you. I would go for like a speed peeler, this Y-shaped peeler, because what you can do is you can just kind of do it like that. Yeah? But sometimes butternut squash skins are quite thick and they're quite hard to peel. But, you know, it's what you're comfortable with. That's the most important thing. Because if you're comfortable, you're much safer. Right, so we've got our butternut squash. The only problem is we've got seeds in the middle there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half and I'm going to cut it in quarters. And now, a bit like a melon, because they are actually part of the same family, squashes and melons. Did you know that, Emily?
I didn't actually.
Same family. And then just scoop the seeds out, just like it was a gallium melon or a cantaloupe or something like that. There you go. And then just, if you miss any, just use your knife and just scoop it out. But if you kind of think like a cucumber, it's very similar, isn't it? And a squash and pumpkins, they're a bit similar in a way. There you go. It doesn't take much, does it? Blown her little mind. Right. She's wishing Poppy was here and Thomas for a bit of backup, but... Right. I actually quite like just roasting this with a bit of garlic and sage and then stir it through some pasta with a little bit of butter and olive oil, parmesan. So good. So good. But butternut squash pumpkins are really good for curries. They really work well.
What could you use as the replacement to sweet potato and squash? If you use the vegetables?
Yeah, I mean, you can use normal potatoes if you want. You could use carrots if you haven't got sweet potato, squash. They're sort of similar, not the same. You could use celeriac with a slightly sort of celery flavour but a potato texture. That would work. Yeah. Right, so all our butternut squash is diced. Get the butternut squash in and then we can get the bulk of the cooking done. So let's just have a quick look at that. Give it a really good stir. Can you see in the pan there, Emily? Okay, marvellous. Now, let's get some serious flavour in there. Let's get some garlic in. I'm just going to slice it up. I'm not going to dice it. I'm not going to mince it. Nothing. Just slice it up and in it goes. And then I've got some ginger. Now I am going to grate that straight in. Okay, so I've got a plane here. Sit it on top of the pan and just grate it straight in. Ginger and squash and sweet potatoes work really, really well. You don't even have to peel the ginger. You just have that little bit left. It's quite a young piece, so it's not, you know, old and gnarly. If you find a piece in the back of the fridge that you haven't used for a long time, I would peel that, but if you've just bought it fresh, it'll be fine. Here we go. Now, coriander, okay? Talk to you about this. Coriander leaf is very delicate and it is perfect for finishing food. Coriander stalk It's packed full of flavour. And what I want you to do is